Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be enjoying an action comedy drama film, entitled The Long Way Home. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins in the year 1950, when North Korea declared war against South Korea. They seized its capital city, Seoul, for 3 days, but it was eventually liberated in 3 months. However, the war did not end there. 3 years later, the South Korean army created a documented plan to end the Korean War, by sending the messenger platoon to 317 Battery Camp. Meanwhile, a platoon of North Korean soldiers marches through the hot fields with their only tank. Inside the tank are Young Gwang, a young machine gunner of the tank squad, and his commanding officers. Suddenly, the brake lever gets stuck, and the driver accidentally breaks it, enraging their commander. The group then decides to fix it from the side of the field, and cover it up with leaves to protect it from being seen. While waiting, the commander offers Young Gwang a cigarette, which he firmly refuses and instead encourages his commander to live healthily. The commander agrees, and sends him out to get food for the group. Meanwhile, the messenger platoon of South Korea treks through the tall grass to deliver the document. Suddenly, they get caught in an ambush, where most of their comrades are killed. Despite the grave encounter, the survivors kept the document safe and retreated. Sometime later, Young Gwang manages to catch up with their platoon, to take food from the sack. All of a sudden, he hears distant noises from the sky, and the planes start attacking them, bombarding the platoon to ashes. Luckily, Young Gwang survives the onslaught and runs back to his unit. However, he is already too late, as he witnesses the dead bodies of his comrades. He reaches his dying commander, who tells him to guard the tank as his last words. Moments after, Nam Bok struggles in the jungle, as he drags his injured friend far from the enemies. However, as he tries to save his friend, he reminds Nam Bok of the document which he loses along the way. He rushes back to the trail to find the document in order to complete their crucial mission. As Young Gwang escapes from the battlefield, he stumbles upon the enemy's radio mentioning the top-secret document. When he sees the document not far from the radio, he immediately grabs it and runs away. Meanwhile, Nam Bok wanders around the jungle, looking for the document. As he retraces his steps, he encounters Young Gwang possessing the document he is looking for. As soon as they see each other, they quickly hide to cover themselves as Young Gwang opens fire. He then throws the grenades, but fails to remove the pins. In a panic, Nam Bok avoids every grenade thrown at him, but he soon realizes they are not going off because the pins are still on. He then gets up and chases after Young Gwang to retrieve the document. At the camp, General Yun is frustrated, for it has been 7 hours since their last contact with the messenger platoon. Despite the long wait, he still doesn't want the superiors to know about their situation. However, Lieutenant Yu, the commander of 317 Battery Camp, suddenly calls and pressures them to send the messengers right away. Meanwhile, Nam Bok catches up to Young Gwang, and as he is about to shoot him, Young Gwang notices him and reacts like a madman trying to avoid getting shot. Unable to get a clear shot, Nam Bok gets irritated and chases him instead. Young Gwang hides inside the tank and thinks he finally got rid of the enemy, but his hatch suddenly opens, revealing Nam Bok on top of the tank. Unsure of the tank's controller, he tries his best to scare him away by moving the tank and eventually escaping. Sometime later, Young Gwang arrives at a town ruin and struggles to pass through the road. Nam Bok again catches up to him and starts shooting him. Young Gwang fires back at him, but unintentionally shoots the camp of 317 Battery. The soldiers from the camp take cover, as they are surprised by the unexpected attack. However, Yu is unfazed, and realizes that the tank doesn't know how to shoot. In response to Young Gwang's failed attacks, Nam Bok uses an RPG, and they both prepare to engage. As the helmet falls to the ground, it signals them to fire at each other simultaneously, missing their targets. Young Gwang shot the building behind Nam Bok, while Nam Bok hit the tank's barrel, causing both of them to pass out from the impact. A few hours later, Young Gwang wakes up and finds the enemy nowhere in sight, thus, he leaves the area. A few minutes later, Nam Bok emerges from the rubble and sees the tank leaving. Meanwhile, Yu reports to Yun about the tank shooting, and demands to receive the document immediately. However, Yun insists they remain in the area until the messenger arrives. Yu rambles on, and they inevitably get into an argument as things get personal. Once the call ends, Yu feels uneasy about the situation and sends out the search troops to find the tank that shot them. The next morning, Young Gwang scans the area, before taking a piss outside the tank, and notices the barrel aslant. Frustrated by its deformed figure, he tries to straighten it but fails. Along the way, he spots a soldier carrying a Chinese flag collapsing to the ground. He rushes to help his comrade, but he soon faces his rival. Nam Bok then holds him hostage, as he tries to get the document from him. However, young Guang remains resilient and hides it at the back of the picture frame of his president. In the middle of the negotiation, young Guang begs to spare his life and convinces him that he lost the document. Still, Nam Bok insists that he takes the tank to his commander to get the medal, and leave young Guang tortured by his unit. They then ride south to return to Nam Bok's camp. Eventually, they arrive in a small village in North Korea, where they celebrate upon seeing young Guang. However, Nam Bok is dismayed to see them cheer for his enemy, thus, he threatens them by firing his gun. Suddenly, a drunk couple welcomes him warmly, as they support his homeland. The couple provides him with food, as Nam Bok holds the whole village hostage. Suddenly, the couple gets into a fight and ruins his meal. Then they hear a loud cry from another room, which piques the attention of everyone. The head of the village begs to spare their lives to care for his grandson. The delivery of the baby moves Nam Bok, as he remembers his family. Later that night, the two rival soldiers settle in an abandoned hut. Young Guang remains a hostage, as he is still tied to a pole. Nam Bok tries to treat him well by feeding him, but they get into a dispute since none of them wants to give up. While Nam Bok talks about the things that will happen to young Guang as a prisoner of war, young Guang discreetly uses a shard to cut his bond. Once released, he charges at Nam Bok, but misses, leading to them getting into a ridiculous fight. In the middle of their struggle, they unknowingly disturb a bee's nest, causing them to retreat to the tank as the bees follow them. The next day, due to bee stings and lack of sleep, Nam Bok accidentally pressed a button, and the turret started spinning, getting his rifle stuck. Now the tables have turned as young Guang holds Nam Bok hostage and orders him to drive. Nam Bok struggles to drive the tank for a while, as he does not know how to operate it, but he eventually gets the hang of it. As they drive along a foggy road, Nam Bok reminisces about his wife and speeds up the tank. Young Guang orders him to slow down, but he ignores him. Thus, they wrestle to get the gun and end up shooting each other. Because of their circumstance, Nam Bok suggests a truce where young Guang gets the tank, while he gets the document. They both agree and empty their guns, and they head out to drink some snake wine to numb the pain of their injuries. They also help each other remove the gun wounds, and they eventually get intoxicated. In the morning, Nam Bok wakes up to the sound of rustling grass. Suddenly, a Chinese soldier emerges from the tall grass, and aims his gun at them. Luckily, young Guang saves them by calling the Chinese comrade his brother. The Chinese then calls for his other comrades, and they happily greet them as they hitch a ride with them. However, young Guang purposely hits the button, to throw them off the tank and escape. At the same time, the search troops see the tank with its turret spinning, while being chased by other soldiers. Confused by this, they decide to retreat and report it to you. Sometime later, the two continue to argue about the document, since young Guang still refuses to give it away. Suddenly, the side of the tank is bombed by the planes, endangering their lives. Nam Bok attempts to save them by waving his flag, but the pilot ignores him. However, young Guang discovers that the plane is the same plane that killed his comrades, thus, he seeks revenge as he targets the plane, and it crashes. He chases after the plane as it tries to escape, and falls off the bridge. Fortunately, he hits the brake at the right time, and prevents the tank from going further. Shortly after, young Guang tries to pull up his tank, but it is impossible with his strength alone. Nam Bok tells him to give up, but he refuses to as it holds the memories of his fallen comrades entrusted to him by the commander. Nam Bok leaves, as he calls for help from the villagers, and eventually, everyone works together to help them. Because of the team effort, they are able to pull the tank, and they celebrate as young Guang sobs. After that, the two arrive between the borders. Nam Bok again asks young Guang for the document, and finally reveals the document behind the frame. He feels dumbfounded, not knowing it was there all along. At the same time, the search troop finds the tank again and reports it to you. Before going their separate ways, the two bonds for a while by smoking together, sharing young Guang's chocolate bar, and exchanging dog tags. They laugh heartily before finally going their own ways. Suddenly, numerous cannon fires are sent to the field under Yu's command. Nam Bok tries to rescue young Guang from the explosions, but the destruction of the tank hurts young Guang more than his own injuries. Eventually, a bomb lands close to young Guang, which heavily injures him. Nam Bok gets up in pain and goes to young Guang's side. He asks Nam Bok if he is dying since he feels cold, to which Nam Bok replies that he's cold because it's snowing. But it was a lie, and to let young Guang die in peace, he eventually stops talking and dies. Nam Bok bitterly mourns the loss of a good friend and brother. The movie ends with Nam Bok finally possessing the document. As he treks to reach his destination, he hallucinates about his wife and his newborn baby along his journey. He then cries with mixed emotions, having suffered the war. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more videos like this, and help the channel grow.